There is already enough pressure that individuals place on themselves in the AFL. Doing their part for the team and being consistent goes into the mental challenge of playing professional sport. Add in fan, club and media hype that some encounter, and it can take pressure to a new level. There are far more stories of how players succumb to the heat and end up disappointing. Here are a few players that not only stood up to the bubbling hype, but actually exceeded it in the process. He was labelled as a number one pick that couldn't miss and was joining one of the biggest clubs in the AFL that had been lagging at the bottom for some time. 2018 saw Sam Walsh head to Carlton as the first player taken in the draft. The Herald Sun said he had ticked every box to be a star and the leadership qualities to instantly impact. How about one of the best players at the time in Patrick Dangerfield saying, "He will lead a football club at some stage, I believe. So I'd be doing everything I possibly could to secure him." He then shortly after this went on to compare Walsh with Geelong captain Joel Selwood. "I look at him and I didn't play with Joel Selwood when he was 17, but I see a lot of similarities." And to cap it off, Dangerfield fully believed he was going to be a special player for a long time in the AFL. Fair to say that there's a lot of expectation that was dumped on Walsh heading into his first season going to a team that finished last in 2018, winning just 2 games. Playing the majority of his game time on a wing, Walsh had a huge first year. He was a runaway Rising Star winner that played every single match in 2019. Carlton got up to 7 wins for the year, with Walsh settling down in the middle of the field. He posted numbers of 25 disposals, 3 inside 50s, and over 310 metres gained per game, primarily as an outside player. From the expectations put on him by Dangerfield, to produce like that as an 18-year-old really is phenomenal. Individually, he put up similar numbers in the following year before moving to a traditional on-baller role in 2021, averaging near 30 disposals a game and kicking 12 goals, becoming All-Australian. After a few injury battles here and there, he finished last season off strongly, taking home the Gary Ayres medal as the best finals player through the coach's eyes. He has exceeded expectations that were already sky high, and at 23, he's ready to play in more big finals. The trade for Patrick Dangerfield was a big shift for Geelong and Adelaide. The Crows lost a 25-year-old Dangerfield who had just become a 3-time All-Australian and won his first club best and fairest. It was a monumental trade for a Cat side that for the first time since 2006 had missed finals. Along with that came the retirement or trades of Steve Johnson, James Kelly and Matthew Stokes. The 11-win 2015 Cats were ranked just 13th for contested possession differential and were dead last in clearances. All the eyes moved to Dangerfield to fix the midfield issue. In 2015 for Adelaide, he averaged 7.1 clearances and a huge 15.2 contested possessions per game. Giving up picks 9 and 28 also mounted the pressure on Dangerfield to really elevate and become a top 5 player in the competition.
Ignores that, goes down to the kick-off line. Oh my goodness! Dangerfield, the Pied Piper from the land of the...
When you play a first game for your new club like that, you really do announce yourself. What Geelong gave up was instantly repaid in a monumental 2016 campaign. Dangerfield swept the Big 3 awards and won the Brownlow by 9 votes. Some of his performances look like video game stats. In round 12 against North Melbourne, he reached 48 disposals, had 13 clearances and 2 goals. A month later, he dropped another 31 touches along with 4 goals against Fremantle. Dangerfield had 6 games in the year with at least 28 disposals and multiple goals. He became the best player in the competition. He didn't just become a cog to solve the Cats' on-ball issues, but accelerated the team to a prelim final in which they lost, but Danger was still their best, gathering 39 disposals, 9 clearances and kicking a goal. Individually, you can't have a better first year at your new club. From then onwards, he's been a further 4-time All-Australian, won 2 more Best and Fairest, and in 2022 finally got the elusive premiership in a redeeming performance after the disappointment of 2020. He has had a slightly lesser role on the field, but off-field his impact is still as strong as ever, becoming captain in 2023 and leading a side that is getting younger by the season. Brisbane headed into the 2018 off-season after a 5-win and 17-loss season. They were building and had accumulated significant amounts of talent through their rebuild. Like previously mentioned with Geelong, their midfield was still a weak point, especially its depth. With Tom Rockliff departing in 2017 and Dane Beams about to go back to Collingwood, the cap space was available to hunt a young midfielder. They did exactly that, and timing was on their side. Lachie Neale was ready to leave Fremantle off a best and fairest season, and at 25 was leading into his best football. They gave him a big deal that Fremantle refused to match, so essentially for picks 6 and 19 he headed to Queensland. David Noble, the Lions GM of football at the time, was ecstatic with the acquisition and was expecting Neale to be a critical part in the Lions midfield. At just 25, he really was a senior player that was part of a list that coming into the 2019 season was still the second youngest in the competition. He took his game to another level, and so did the Lions. They jumped from 5 wins all the way up to 16 in 2019. Neale was one of the reasons why. He improved by over 1 player rating point and put up career high numbers in kicks, clearances and score involvements per game. He was transforming from a big possession gatherer to a damaging player that could break from stoppage to hurt opposition. He was rewarded with a maiden All-Australian selection and his first Brisbane best and fairest. All round, the 2019 season saw Neale turn in the view of many from an in and under accumulator to a top level midfielder who needed to be accounted for. Not many saw this evolution coming. He followed up with a Brownlow 2020 season in which he dominated the polling and swept all the big awards. Brisbane themselves were solidifying as a contender. He hasn't slowed up since, winning another Brownlow this past season while piling up a couple more All-Australians and best and fairest. All he has left to get is a premiership medal. You can't get much more hyped than winning a Magarey medal and a premiership in the SANFL at just 20 years of age. It was a strange beginning to Nathan Buckley's professional football career, spending his teenage years in the Northern Territory. He didn't follow the traditional draft pathway, and after not being picked up, he had to switch over to South Australia. 2 seasons led to the before mentioned accolades, and it was clear he was ready to play in the next level. He didn't want to join the Brisbane Bears, but because of his NT roots, they were able to pick him up as part of their zone selections. He made a deal with the Bears to play with them for the 1993 season, but would depart in a trade during the off-season. It went exactly to plan. He won the Rising Star and was instantly a very good AFL player. The Melbourne clubs came calling, and Collingwood won the race, giving up Craig Starcevich, Troy Lehman and pick 12. It was a huge trade, especially for the 90s. He now wasn't up in Queensland, away from the spotlight, but now in the heart of Melbourne, playing for the biggest club. It's the definition of a pressure cooker. He became a Collingwood legend. His seasons only got better in the black and white. From 1996 to 2001, he made the All-Australian team every single year. He was a goal-kicking midfielder that was an elite player for 10 seasons. Between 1998 and 2000, he didn't dip below 29.5 disposals and a goal for season averages, while claiming 3 straight of his 6 best and fairest. 1999 saw him become club captain and led a side into his 30s that made back-to-back grand finals. They lost 2002 and 2003 to Brisbane, but Buckley did win the '02 Norm Smith medal in a losing side, amassing 32 touches in which 28 were kicks, 9 clearances and a goal. Although '03 ended in heartbreak again, Buckley's 22 Brownlow votes were enough to tie for the medal with Mark Rasciuto and Adam Goodes, making the then 31-year-old one of the most decorated players ever. In 2004, he was made a Collingwood Life member and in total played 280 games for the Pies, kicking 284 goals. The Melbourne football pressure can overwhelm young players, but Buckley easily transitioned from the Bears to Magpies. I wonder how many thought a kid dominating in the SANFL, entering the AFL a few years older than most, would meet the big club hype and end up in the team of the century.